this is Tina from Shabbydabbydoodah. Welcome back to my channel. So we are here for another one of our mass making sessions. We are up to week number 180, would you believe? So for anybody who doesn't watch my channel, we are doing reruns. So we are rerunning week number 80. So, oops, sorry, I've just dropped something behind me. So week number 180. So what we are making today, we are making paper ruffles. Now, paper ruffles, I have Googled this since the last one to try and get some other, you know, ways of doing them. So we're going to kind of have a few different methods on the go. So that's why I've got more of a variety of stuff. So if you are wanting to craft along, what you are going to need is you are going to need some scissors or a paper trimmer if you like to have a paper trimmer. You know, if you want to just use a tear ruler, then you could do that, you know, in which case you wouldn't need your scissors. But, you know, I personally am going to cut mine down. You're going to need a variety of papers. Now, I'm going to use a variety of papers, you know, some printables, again, and I say this every week, that's because that's what I predominantly have now. I've got a couple of my food coloured papers here in this pretty lilac and the pretty pink. And then I've also got some sheet music and I've also got some book page. So, yeah, that's the papers that we're going to be kind of using. I'm going to make a variety of different ones, like I said. So you could either use your sewing machine to attach these. You could use glue. I've got here my Anita's tacky glue is what I use. I've got my hot glue gun. So, you know, maybe we would possibly be using that for maybe one or two. We're going to kind of just experiment around and, you know, see what works best and, you know, try and incorporate some different ideas because obviously in these mass making, you know, I'm aware that not everybody has a sewing machine. So although that may be, I'm not necessarily saying the preferred method, but, you know, maybe my preferred method is the sewing machine. Obviously, I'm aware that not everybody has a sewing machine. So we're going to staple some. I've got here my Tim Holtz Tiny Attacher stapler. So, you know, that's another quite good one to use. And then we might have a bit of a play around with different effects and things. So what I've got here, this is some very skinny lace. It's like a lace trim, almost like a sort of upholstery trim. It's thinner than upholstery trim. It's a sort of crochet lace, but you know, it's a skinny one. I have got some ribbon. I'm not sure that the ribbon is going to work brilliantly if I'm truthful, so we probably won't really use the ribbon. And then I've also got some bling, which again, I think would look really nice on the ruffles. So we're just going to kind of experiment around. And then aside from that, I've got some distress ink and a blendy tool just to, you know, decorate up. And yeah, I think that's pretty much it. So those are the, you know, the basic things that we're going to be needing. So let's just get straight into it. So I'm going to start by just using some book page because, yeah, that kind of seems like probably the, you know, the easiest place to start. Now, I'm going to take my ruffle down. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to make one or two individually, and then we'll make one or two kind of, you know, like in a sort of bulk making method. So I'm just cutting this book page down. Now, I don't measure, but this is, yeah, it's around about 1 inch wide. So, you know, if you were measuring, that's kind of the sort of width that I've gone for. Again, going to just take another one down here, just so we've got, you know, a couple that we can use. Okay. And I'm just going to move this out of the way. I could probably get one more out of there, actually. The paper is torn, but yeah, I could probably just about do one more out of that. So I'm just going to keep that to the side. Now I'm going to, or throw those in the bin. I'm going to keep these to the side because we may use these as one of the methods of, you know, making the ruffles. So let's move this all out of the way so that hopefully there's less things to be looking at. Right, what we're going to do is we take our paper and then you're just going to fold it over. Now, when I did my, you know, previous paper ruffles, I'm just trying to remember, and I did pull out, I had a couple left, and I did pull out, I think, one, and now I can't seem to see it. Just to check how I had done them. Oh, here we go. Whether I had done them all completely. Yeah, I had. Right. So you just take your paper and you're just going to fold it over. I don't know what you'd describe this as, but sort of in steps. like this. Now, I am not worried at all about how straight my paper ruffle is. In fact, I think it looks better if they're quite uneven. I think the, you know, the randomness works really well. So that's kind of an example of that paper ruffle. So if you can see from the side, it's done in steps, like a sort of a Z kind of shape. And then all I would do is take that to the sewing machine, pop it into the sewing machine, probably this way round would be easier, and just do either a zigzag stitch or a running stitch straight through the middle of the ruffle. So that's ruffle number 1. Now I'm just going to put that to one side, and what I'll do, I'll fold a bunch up and then I'll take them to the sewing machine in a little while. So the second thing that you could do, and we did this in the last one, was I took my, you know, my paper ruffle and we just fold it up again, you know, in that kind of, I don't know whether this, I don't think this would be concertina, is it? This would be, I don't know what I would describe this as, but yeah, you're just kind of folding it up basically, like kind of making little steps like that. So the other thing that you could do is you could take your staple and staple through the middle. So if you didn't have a sewing machine, we're going to obviously stitch through the middle of this. You could take your stapler and just staple through. Now, hopefully, to eliminate the need for so many staples, you may be able to staple kind of a bunch of the folds together. Oh, I just missed that last one. How annoying is that? So there, I've got quite a few folds. I hope this is kind of visible really. So quite a few folds, but I've only had to use 4 staples because as it happens, I've managed to clamp the folds with 1 staple, if that makes sense. So now mine is the tiny attacher, so my staples are small. If you were using a big stapler, of course you would probably go across, you know, more. I don't know whether it's a double the size of this staple, but you'd be able to get more squished in. So, you know, that's kind of another method. So we'll put that one down. Now, another method that we did last time was to take this and fold it up. Oops, like this. And like I said, I mean, honestly and truly, I actually think these look better. The more kind of random and scruffy that they are, the better I think they look. So, you know, if you're kind of thinking, oh my goodness, she's all over the show with that. I am all over the show, you are quite right. But I actually think that looks really nice. So what you could do here is dab some glue. Now, I think I did this in the last one and I just used my hot glue, oops, and just dabbed it, you know, very little dots. You know, hardly any, because you don't want it to kind of be bulking out, but just dabbing little tiny dots of hot glue. This is the back side of the paper ruffle, just to kind of clamp it down like that. Oops, I need a bit more in 1 or 2 places because I don't even think I got any come out. So, okay, right, definitely got some there. I still don't think I've got some out here. It's because I'm trying to use so little, so it's not bulking it out. So that's another method. Now, I talked about this in the last, you know, the last time we did these. What you're going to have here is a kind of curling effect, you know, because we've only glued the back so far. I'm not worried because obviously when you glue that down onto your, you know, onto your project, you just run maybe a, you know, line of glue down the center, and that would then squish that down, and your, you know, your folds at the front would no longer be doing this. If you were bothered, however, you could obviously go in on the front side as well and just do some dabs of glue on the front as well. So that's kind of your gluing method. Now, the reason why I'm using the hot glue as opposed to wet glue for this, well, 2 reasons. A, obviously I'm, you know, on film, so I don't want to be like bogging you down with, you know, whilst I'm trying to hold it clamped closed to get it to dry. So, you know, it would be super boring to obviously watch. But the other reason is it's exactly the same reason, to be honest, but obviously not because I'm on camera, but for the speed, I'm not having to hold this down. So, you know, this is now completely glued closed. You know, I can bend that round, and as you can see, my ruffles, they're, you know, they're clamped closed. If I had used the wet glue, it would have worked, but I would have probably had to, you know, put something on it for a time to get it to actually glue down, you know, to dry, to glue closed. So, you know, it's not a big deal, but it's just kind of something to bear in mind. So that's that one. Now, this is not my method, but this was a method that I saw this morning when I was kind of researching for this video. I saw an awesome method by E over at Scrapbooking with Me. It was quite an old video of hers, but she made the NoSew method. So exactly as we've just done here, NoSew. But what she did was she used a base piece. So what I'm going to do, this is that book page that we kind of had in the first place. I'm going to cut it down into a sort of skinnier strip. So this was just the edge piece that we didn't use. So we've got a skinny piece now. And then what she did, and this is why I've brought along the, you know, the wet glue, is she took her wet glue and then she ran a line of wet glue down the page. So hold on. Sorry, not used my glue yet today, so hold on. Oh, come on. How long did it take for it to run down? Oh, and I'm so sorry, it's now discoloured from my paper clip that I had clamped in there. So I've run a whole line of glue down there. And then what you'll do is you will do your Z folds onto the paper. Now, she did them directly onto the paper, which, you know, obviously you could do. Personally, I'm going to try and just do my Z folds here and then just press it onto that paper, if you see what I mean. So she folded hers directly, you know, one at a time onto the paper, you know, whilst it was attached. I'm going to just literally take my now ready folded piece and just then glue it on. So like that. Got my folds all there ready, and I just clamp that down. Now this is where, as you can see, it's obviously got that wet glue, so it's going to take a few minutes to actually set and to dry. Okay, but it's already, you know, it's already getting there, so it's not too bad. And then if I peel this up, and then I can just tear this one off from the bottom. That is my little paper ruffle. And as you can see, it's got the same thing that happened with this one before we added the extra glue, which actually it needs a little dab more at the back. Where when you curled it, you know, it was coming out because, of course, it's only glued at the bottom here to the bottom piece. So you've got that same thing happening. But again, just like what we said with that one, it's not a problem because when you glue this onto your page, that's going to be glued flat. And so that whole, you know, wanting to do this effect, that will disappear just by the nature of gluing that down. So, you know, lots of different ways to do it. Now, the only other thing that I thought actually was worth kind of covering that, you know, we haven't covered so far is basically doing the reverse of this technique. So going to put that to one side, and I'll just take this sheet of book page now, and we just fold our Z folds again. I don't know really whether this is called a Z fold, but I've just decided that was, you know, the best description I could come up with. So we folded our Z folds here like that, okay, like that. And then here, instead of gluing this onto a base piece here, what you could do is glue something over on the front side of it. So for instance here, you could put down an extra sheet of paper or something like that. which that also looks quite nice, doesn't it? I mean, particularly if we inked this up, because at the moment, obviously it's, you know, it's looking probably quite boring and plain, but if we inked this, it's going to obviously straight away look a lot nicer. So we just ink down there, okay? And then we just hold this like that. In fact, I'm probably better off putting the glue on here. So a line of glue straight down onto there. Now I'm going to take this upside down so that hopefully I will be kind of pushing it and that will be squishing it down, if you see what I mean. So like that. Okay? And then just press that down. Whoops. Press that down like that. And again, you can just then tear off your strips at the end. So that has done the opposite of this one. So this one, you've got the curling effect on the, you know, the outside. And like I said, when you glue that down on a page, that would go, you know, disappear. This time the curling effect is on the underneath because, you know, we've put the piece of paper on the top half, if you see what I mean. So we press that down. And again, when you then came to use this, you'd glue down onto here and that would make that completely disappear as well. So, you know, that's quite a good kind of, you know, way to remember it. Now, just going to put that to one side. So that's those. Now, the other thing that we did in the last video is we bulk made some ruffles. So I'm going to obviously show you that as well. Just, you know, just so you've got quite a few options. So I'm going to take this paper. Now, this is a new paper I'm putting in my shop. It's just from my William Morris collection. And it's not in my shop yet. I must just quickly point that out. It's not in my shop, but I'm hoping it will be within the next couple of days because I've been working on them for a few days now. Well, a few weeks actually. So hopefully they will be in my shop within the next few days. So if you were wanting to do like bulk making of these, what you could do is take an entire sheet. So this is a whole A4 sheet. And I must just mention quickly, this is 110 GSM, so it's slightly thicker than normal copy paper. I've also got a sheet of this in actual copy paper thickness, which is more like 80 GSM. You can probably see there the colour difference between the two. This is a kind of smooth presentation-y type paper. This is a regular copy paper, and you can just about see there, this looks a lot more dull compared to this. So that's another thing worth bearing in mind, you know, when you're kind of picking your papers and things. But what you can then do is bulk fold it. So you will just take your piece. This is going to be kind of tricky to do now, but yeah, take your piece. Let me get started here across the top, because once I start, hopefully it will be a bit easier to do. So then you're going to just fold your Z folds across the whole sheet of the paper like that, okay? And then again, just, you know, fold that up. Oops. Like that. Do you know, in the last video when I made these, this seemed a lot quicker to do, you know, to do them in bulk. This time I'm really struggling, although I have to say this is a whole A4 sheet, and I got a funny feeling that probably in the last one what I did was actually, instead of a whole A4 sheet, I just did, like, say in half, which would be, yeah, much easier to manage. So probably the tip there is don't try and do a whole A4 sheet, because you're going to, you know, you're going to struggle perhaps to bend it or to fold it, as I am here. So yeah, this is a do as I say, not as I do video. Oh, I'm making a bit of a mashup of this, but never mind. Right, so like this, and then yep. I mean, maybe there's probably a really great knack to this. Maybe I'll do it sideways on. Perhaps that would be better. Or perhaps I should do it, yeah, perhaps from the back. Okay. Oh, that might be better. Yeah. Okay. Okay, so we've got that fold, and then yep, bring it down here. Like that. definitely I won't be attempting this with a whole A4 sheet again, because I'm finding it just too big to handle. So yeah, you know, like I said, do as I say, not as I do. But it's all good to, you know, do this learning curve, isn't it? And see what works best. But I mean, I'm probably just making a big meal of this, to be honest. But yeah, definitely for me, this is a struggle dealing with something that's, you know, quite big like this. So just folding it again. I mean, I've nearly done the whole sheet, that being said. And to be honest, although this has looked like a bit of a nightmare, you will see in a minute, you know, how quick this then does become. So although it looks like, oh my goodness, she's picked a terrible way to do this, it actually is very time efficient, because we have, you know, managed to get a lot of ruffles obviously done in one fell swoop. So like this. Okie dokie. And then like that. Okie dokie. Oh my goodness, this is yeah, I just wouldn't do this with this whole piece of paper again. So, you know, but we live and learn. Right, so I will do it as far as that, and I will leave this a little bit longer just because I probably struggled to play. So that's the, you know, amount of Z folds that we've got there. And then what I would do with this is take this to the sewing machine. So I will do this in a minute, but at the moment we'll just kind of talk you through. I would take this to the sewing machine and then stitch down every, you know, couple of inches. So you, oh, well, I don't like to say how many you get, but you get perhaps, I don't know, six rows of stitching or something. And then what you could then do is cut your ruffles to size. Or, you know, you could cut your ruffles now and then take them to the sewing machine. If that felt like that was going to be a more effective way or efficient way for you to do it, you could cut them there and then take them to the sewing machine. So I still think this is quite a good, you know, efficient way to do it. But it does take a little bit of playing, obviously, to, you know, to be able to fold this up. So I'm just going to put that to one side and we will take it to the sewing machine. And then I'm just going to pull this one in. So this is obviously on that thinner paper, or perhaps we'll just bring in, oh, let's bring in a different one just so that we're doing different patterns. So this one is another one that is going to go in my shop hopefully later this week. And again, it's going to be in my collections papers. This time, this is going to be called the Farmhouse Collection. And as you can see, is this gorgeous brown gingham. So I'm just going to take that off. Now, this has been printed on that thinner copy paper, okay? So it's not the thick, you know, the thick copy paper. But I'm going to cut this down because obviously I did struggle with having that, you know, huge, great big piece. So we'll just take that down. Okay, right, so this one, what I'm going to do two different things. So we're going to do this bulk folding method with one of these, just so that I can hopefully demonstrate that it is in fact easier with, you know, a smaller piece of paper. Who knows, might find that it's not either. But so taking this in straight away, it's miles easier to handle this. You know, it definitely had kind of bitten off too much. Too much? Yeah, bitten off more than I could chew by that other great big piece of paper. So this is a lot more manageable, as you can probably see. So yeah, little lesson for the day for myself there. Maybe you guys will appreciate it as well. Is, yeah, probably the A4 sheet. That was just a little bit too cumbersome. This, i.e. half an A4 sheet, you know, slimmed down or, you know, cut down, trimmed down. Much more manageable. So, you know, much better. And then, yeah, can even do the bottom piece because that was just 2 seconds to do. And you could probably get 1, 2, 3, maybe 4 stitched strips. Obviously, this one has been, you know, allegedly printed borderless. It didn't print borderless. So I'm just going to take the border off just so as I don't confuse myself when I'm stitching that. So that's another kind of bulk one, but like I said, you know, much smaller piece. So the only other thing that I also wanted to show, which I'd seen, which I thought was lovely, was I saw somebody, and I can't remember who it was, so I do apologise. She layered up 2 different types of paper. So I'm going to have a go with that, using this book page over the gingham. And the reason why I think this will work quite nicely is because they're both thin pieces of paper. This is that copy paper thickness, and this is just thinnish book page. I personally, you know, wouldn't want to use anything too bulky, especially if using 2 sheets of paper, if you see what I mean. So yeah, we're going to use the 2 sheets, but they're both quite thin. So I'm just wondering whether I could get away with doing the bulk folding. I probably could, but just because I'm, you know, not that confident, I'm just going to take this down here. Okay, so obviously I've got, you know, tons at the bottom that I'm not going to be using, but that's fine. So you just then are doing exactly the same, but you've obviously clamped in, you know, a second sheet of paper, which is just giving, you know, a different look, isn't it? You know, another sort of more decorative look, really. So yeah, I thought that was a really nice thing to do. Now I probably could do with actually running this straight onto the sewing machine, you know, right now, because it's not really wanting to hold shut. But that one is really nice, isn't it? I really do like how that one looks. So you'd need to be a bit careful because this could move around and you could end up with it not really clamped shut. So what you could do is just pop a dab of glue, you know, in 1 or 2 places just to hold that paper in place, just till you get to the sewing machine. Okay, so that's that one. Okie dokie. So I've probably talked you through enough now, so I can be quiet about the process and we can finally have a relax now and have a catch up. And just bulk make these. So I'm just going to kind of like carry on exactly as we have been doing. I won't really kind of mention the process too much unless I do something different, which I don't think I will be doing. Yeah, and we'll just kind of relax and have a nice time, hopefully. So yeah, I hope everybody's week has started out well. So if you watch my channel, you'll know that I generally film these on a Monday, ready to go up on the Tuesday. So for me, obviously my week has only just started. So yeah, it's freezing cold today. So yeah, my daughter stayed at her dad's last night, so I didn't have to do the school run today, which, oh, I love that. I absolutely hate the school run. So yes, that was nice. But I did go out, you know, to the gym first thing. So I can tell you now, it was pretty cold when I went out to the gym. There we go. But yeah, aside from that, I haven't obviously been out. This is my bird chase papers, and these are in my shop now. So again, I'm just going to take these down in half, just because actually that did work a lot better, you know, with less bulk going on. So I don't know how these will look, because obviously you know, we've got multiple colours going on here. So, you know, how good these will look, I'm not sure, but hopefully they will look nice. Now the other thing that I am just noticing now actually is the piece that I did the whole A4 sheet was that 110 GSM paper, so much thicker. This also is that same thickness paper, and this, although I'm not doing the whole sheet, you know, I've cut it in half, this is proving a lot more difficult to work with. So it may not have even been that I was using too big a piece of paper, you know, with that A4 sheet. I mean, definitely this is slightly less cumbersome than that was, but yeah, this is proving much more tricky to use as well, just because obviously it's a thicker paper. So, I mean, that's kind of another little thing to note, I suppose, is if you were going to use, say, your scrapbook papers or anything for this, or even book page, you probably wouldn't want to use anything too thick, because it's going to make it very difficult for folding your pieces. So yeah, kind of that's just another little thing worth bearing in mind there. So there we go. Right, and again, I can just take that to the sewing machine and do some running stitches straight down there. Okay, Right, so this one I would have quite liked to have done, you know, that double layered effect on here with some book page or whatever. But to be honest, because this is, you know, that thicker paper, I don't think really that that would work that brilliantly. I think, you know, I'd be biting off more than I could chew trying to then put book page over this as well. So I'm just going to stick with the, you know, stick with the single-sided on here like that. Okay. So yeah, I just thought I would quickly mention that because I hadn't really noticed until, you know, coming to do this, that I thought, well, actually, this is proving just as tricky. And we're now on a smaller sheet of paper. But yeah, I then suddenly realised, oh, I think it was actually the thickness of the paper that was causing the majority of problems rather than the size of the paper, although that did also contribute, you know, to how tricky it was. But yeah, I think the main problem was the thickness. So anyway, but never mind. So yeah, what have we been up to? So my son, my oldest son, he's still on his kind of like working holiday thing that he's done. And lots of people have asked me, like, is that sort of like a Duke of Edinburgh thing? No, it's not. It was, you know, it's done like independently. He found it just, I don't know whether he found it on Google or Instagram or I don't know, to be honest. But yeah, he's doing it kind of independently. You don't get a qualification or anything like that. It's just purely for the, you know, for the experience. So yeah, he's still there. And it's, oh, I think I won't be greedy. I'll just go with that and then tear that off. So it's somewhere in Morocco that he is, and I couldn't tell you where it is, I'm afraid. But anyway, he's really enjoying himself and, you know, having a good time. He's FaceTimed lots of times whilst he's been there. So I'm going to try this with the food colour paper here. So I've got this pink, which I think would be, you know, very, very pretty. So I'm going to just cut this down. Now, again, this is the thicker paper. So I would love to have clamped, again, some, you know, book page in this. But because it is that thicker paper, I'm thinking that might be, you know, tricky then to work with. So I'm going to just have to stick with this. But I might finish this off with the paper over the top, you know, like we did with this one. I might do something like that. So yeah, we'll just kind of see what we think. Yeah, so he is there doing that still, and yeah, he's having a good time. He said it's been, you know, really good experience. He's kind of met quite a lot of people. I think he said there's 3 other English people. I think he said 2 French and 1 Spanish person. They're doing it, and obviously, you know, the people whose home it is that they're kind of like working with. Yeah, I mean, he, I guess, is Moroccan. So yeah, he said it's been good. Actually, I think he said there's a German lad as well. So yeah, he's having a really good time, and yeah, he said, oh, really good experience. And I was saying about it, and he just said, well, I don't think it's your type of thing, Mum. So yeah, he sent me a picture of like the toilet facilities, and I use that term very loosely. It didn't look like my type of thing. Let's just say, yes, I think I'd probably struggle. So yes, he's quite right. Not my type of thing. This is just some more of those William Morris papers. And I thought this one, and actually I probably going to cut this down into the size ruffles. Okay. Like that. You can obviously trim them up. And then this one, just going to run the glue down here so that we can put this through the middle. So, right, let's just decide which side to use. Like that, I think. Yeah, he said, Mum, I don't think it's your type of thing. I said, don't worry, I won't be planning on going. Yeah, I did get the impression it would not have been my type of thing, to be honest. Yes, those toilet facilities, I just thought not really for me. And the shower facilities, I think he was kind of like describing that they're, you know, kind of like a bucket system. You know, it's like one bucket and then you use another bucket for the rinsing, and another bucket for like a third bucket rinse. So yeah, it doesn't really sound up my street, I've got to say. But anyway, he's having a good time. He did say in hindsight, he's gone for 10 days, and he did say in hindsight a week would have been enough. So yeah, to give you an indication of I think, you know, he's having to work quite hard, and you know, obviously it's very hot out there and things. So I think, you know, and he did say, you know, obviously, I mean, you know, it stands to reason because it's kind of the Sahara Desert, you know, but he said, you know, it's completely cut off and kind of in the middle of nowhere, which, you know, can feel quite isolating, can't it? So yeah, although he's having a good, you know, good time, I think he's, you know, he's kind of thinking, glad he's done it, wouldn't probably rush to do it again, you know, which is fair enough, isn't it, really? So we've got this one, and then just wondering whether we could do like the reverse and have like some paper stuck out behind one of these. So if I just take this and cut this down here, I'm kind of thinking, you know, this one we've obviously put the paper on the front. I'm just wondering whether we could actually do one where we have the paper kind of coming out on the back, but not ruffled. So I'm just going to try this. I don't know whether this would look rubbish, but let's give it a try. And these are just, you know, while I've been trying to get my prints, you know, right and things. So obviously it generates a lot of, you know, a lot of wastage. But yeah, you know, projects like this then are brilliant for using things up. So and then just pop that one down there like that. Probably, yeah, probably benefit from actually having it the size, you know, the right size. But oh, I don't know whether I think that that looks good, to be honest. It looks a bit weird, doesn't it? Like it's just been plonked on there. So yeah, probably won't do that. But yeah, we've got this one anyway. So yep, I'll take that one to the sewing machine. And then this one, I don't know whether I'm going to actually be able to get to. I probably could actually. So I might just cut that down, because otherwise when I get to the sewing machine, I could easily misjudge, you know, how to do that one. So that's that. And then the final one, I've just got this. Again, this is another one I'm hoping to put in my shop later on in the week. It's going to be the Botanicals collection. Now this also is on slightly thicker paper, so, you know, I must just bear that in mind, you know, especially if we're doing the bulk folding. Okay. So yeah, he's been doing that, so he's been enjoying that. My middle son, oh, he's still poorly, would you believe? So yeah, he had those problems with his tonsils, and I did say last week, you know, his tonsils were actually at the point they were bleeding and just really, really, really bad. Touch wood, he's a lot better. I mean, a lot better than he was. But, you know, still fragile. So, yeah, he's still not feeling his self. I mean, like yesterday, made a roast dinner, and, you know, he didn't really kind of eat it. I mean, he ate a bit of it, but yeah, he kind of struggled to actually eat it. And yeah, I mean, he's not been feeling himself still. You know, still off his food, still kind of energyless and things. So bless him, it's really dragging on. And actually he was signed off work in the end until I think it's Wednesday this week. So I'll have to just see how he is, whether he's going to be, you know, fit enough to go back to work on Wednesday. I don't know. But yeah, poor thing. So definitely he's been having a rough time of it with his tonsils. So, and thank you so much to all those lovely people who, you know, hoped he felt better soon, and also mentioned, you know, things to watch out for, like, you know, with tonsils and stuff. So yeah, we've been keeping a close eye on it. So, you know, hopefully he will be, you know, improving soon. But it's definitely taken a long time. So the only other thing that I've got that I thought would also make very lovely paper ruffles is some sheet music. So I'm just going to cut this down, just because, you know, for exactly the same reason that I think this would be easier to handle if it's thinner. So just fold that over at the top. So, I mean, these are quite a nice little thing that, again, you could do in front of the TV. You know, at night, because I mean, it's pretty quiet, isn't it? You're not really going to disturb people too much. It's just a little bit of paper noise. And yeah, you know, if you just had a tray on your lap or, you know, a book or something like that, you could kind of be doing it on your lap. And then the next day, take them to the sewing machine. Or, you know, if you were gluing them, you could either glue them there and then, you know, whilst you were doing them. Or, you know, if you were stapling them, you could be stapling them as you went. So, yeah, they're quite a good one from that point of view. They're also quite a good one for using up scraps. I mean, I've been using kind of whole sheets, but you don't have to use whole sheets. You know, you could definitely get away with using, you know, paper scraps and things. So, just kind of, yeah, it depends how big you want them and things like that. And the other thing that these are, you know, would be nice for is if you had paper bags. You could make paper bag ruffles. So that would be another really nice one. So that's my sheet music ones. So they're lovely too, aren't they? So I'm going to take some of these to the sewing machine. Now, I don't know whether I'm going to have time to do all of them, or whether, you know, I might have to do some off camera, but I'm definitely going to do a few anyway. And then we'll come back and we'll just have a look at a couple of different ways to decorate them and how to use them. So I'll be back in a minute. Right, I'm back from the sewing machine. Now, I did sew all of them, but as you can see, I've left this end kind of open so that I can have a play around with that, with some other bits and pieces. So let's have a look now and just see some of the things that you could do with your ruffles. So I've got all of these that obviously need, you know, cutting to make the individual ruffles. Please excuse the amount of threads that I have got now. Ugh. Just, I'm an inefficient sewer, so I suspect there's probably a, you know, much better way to do this where you end up with less threads, but yeah, I have not found that way. So yeah, please excuse the amount of threads that I've got. So this one, for example, here, I'm just going to cut it down here because, you know, this was a scrap piece of paper, like I said, from where I've been, you know, creating printables. So unfortunately, you know, it's double-sided and on the back is obviously some purple stuff. So I don't necessarily want that showing. So I just needed to trim down, you know, on the edge where anywhere was, you know, overhanging. And then I can just cut down my ruffles. Now, I personally quite like a sort of curvy ruffle. You know, I don't necessarily like it, you know, all straight. You know, I think kind of curvy and things is pretty nice. So that's that one, and then yep, just tear that around. Obviously, you know, you can make them kind of like slimmer or, you know, however you like really, but that's that one. And then let's just ink that up so it looks, you know, a little bit more vintage. So yep, just using my vintage photo just to ink around the edges. Now I just used a straight stitch for all of these except for this one where I had the piece of paper over the front, and I thought that one would be quite nice to have, you know, some zigzag stitching. So just so it's got a little bit of a different look to kind of show you. So there's that one. Now on here, I thought this little trim would look really pretty because it feels quite country, you know, to me. This obviously it's from the country set, and this feels quite countrified, this lace trim. So I'm just going to put my hot glue straight down the middle where that stitch is, you know, and that again is highlighting, you know, if you didn't want to sew these, you really wouldn't have to, because especially if you're going to be finishing yours off with some decorative bits like this, that's kind of securing that anyway, you know, so that is doing this method basically. I mean, obviously the fact that it's stitched, the beauty of it is I've got them all now ready and I could just take them all in a bunch, you know, and then decorate them. But if you didn't have a sewing machine, what I'm trying to kind of emphasize here is, you know, you wouldn't necessarily need a sewing machine because you could actually, you know, add your bits and pieces in place of the sewing, if you see what I mean. And then here I've just got one of those bows that we made in last week's mass making. So the tiny bows there. And you could just have one of those, either top or, you know, maybe in the middle. I think the middle looks quite pretty, actually. Yeah, or maybe the bottom. I don't know. I like it everywhere, actually. It's one of those that I quite like and everywhere I put it. But let's just have it like that. So, and again, just literally stick that on. So, you know, you can see that obviously, you know, mixing up all your different bits that we mass make over, you know, various different weeks. How quick and easy is that? You know, you can just bring your bits together very, very quickly. Now, I've probably got something else sat beside me from a different week's mass make. So let me just have a look. Okay, now I'm not necessarily saying that this is going to be the, you know, the best match or anything like that, but I'm just trying to demonstrate that actually, you know, you can bring things together pretty easily. So here we've got one of those envelope pockets that, again, we've made these in the mass make. You could just then attach your decorative strip on this side bit. I mean, as you can see, I mean, I haven't finished this off on the inside. I would have put some book page or paper of some kind inside so it looks better. But if I just put that in there just for the sake of this video, just to kind of like finish it off very quickly. So if that were glued down so as it's, you know, not got the white bits, and then you could just put that onto that flap. How gorgeous is that? You know, and that's a pocket completely done, completely decorated, just using your mass made ruffle, your mass made bow, and then your mass made, you know, envelope pocket. So very, very quickly, you know, you can bring things together. So that's that one. Let's have a look at another kind of idea. So just having a look to see which one do we want to go for. Well, perhaps we'll go for one of these pink ones, shall we? Because you know, they're possibly looking, you know, quite boring, aren't they? Because they're obviously just, you know, just the pink paper. So again, we can, you know, ink this up a little bit. Oh, didn't really need to put any more ink on my inky tool because actually it was pretty inky. Again, I quite like the torn, you know, torn paper. So, you know, you might prefer yours torn like that. It just gives a slightly different look. If I just kind of show you to compare, I personally think the torn edge looks better, you know, but you may prefer the cut edge, you know, I don't know, but different projects might require different looks. So I'm just going to take my bling, just cut those little edgy type bits off. Okay, and then we just cut this down here like that. Oops. Okie dokie. And we can just literally pop our bling in there. So I'm going to go down this pretty carefully with my hot glue. Now, I had a question from the lovely Patricia on the comments the other day. I can't remember which video that it was on, but Patricia asked me about my hot glue and said, you know, about my fingers getting burnt. Now, hi Patricia, if you're watching. I did answer in the comments, but I just want to kind of mention that really is, yes, I do sometimes burn my fingers. I'm not kind of obviously, you know, immune to that or anything. So sometimes I do burn my fingers, I can't lie. But I use this Bosch, it's a PKP 18E hot glue gun. And I know I've talked about this and I've shared this with you guys loads of times, but I mean, I've had loads of these now. This, you know, this is a reasonably new one. I just bought it about a month ago. I tend to have to replace them about every 18 months, but mine is plugged in all the time, every single day. So, you know, I mean, I don't mean all the time, obviously I switch it off overnight, but you know, I'm saying it's heavily used. And it's only actually about £20, so not too much, but it has got this very slim nozzle. I will not touch it because obviously it's plugged in at the moment, so it's super hot, but that thin nozzle makes such a lot of difference when you are gluing. So, you know, if you can kind of see, you really can get a lot more precision. I did have a hot glue gun once before with like a big fat end. Wow, I mean, I would have burnt my fingers left, right and centre. So whenever you see me, particularly like if I hold the bling here, you know, and kind of glue along with my hot glue, I would not have been able to do that if it wasn't for this glue gun. So that's just to kind of, you know, answer that question really. So that's that one with the bling. Again, how gorgeous does that look? And let me just see. Well, let's just bring this piece in even here. So, you know, completely the same pocket, you know, which we made look quite countrified with the brown and, you know, the gingham. Look at it now with the pink, with the bling. How gorgeous does that look? It just looks beautiful, doesn't it? So very easily changed. So that's that one. Then let's take our blue. So we've got these blue ones now. This end I have not, you know, not attached at all, as you can see, because I thought actually let's make a couple of different looks with this. So I'm just going to go in with my staples like we did on, you know, one of the other ones, just to kind of get a feel for how this would look stapled. Okay, I think that's, yep, clamped, kind of stapled shut everywhere. Right, let me put my glasses on for this because it'd be a bit easier probably. So again, just going to cut this down. Again, sort of curling it round a bit, and then just, you know, can curl it around here as well. So, you know, super pretty. Can ink this up, you know, down the edges as well. Now, bearing in mind, this is that thicker paper, because this was the one I struggled to fold, if you recall. So now, hopefully you can see that. So you could leave it with those staples. I mean, I personally think they look, you know, really nice anyway. But you could also obviously put like your lace trim or, you know, your book page or whatever else down there. How gorgeous does that look? Absolutely love it. What happened to my, oh, what happened to my bling? I had a little off cut. Oh, here we go. It's very hard to see in amongst the black mat. How gorgeous does that look? So I'm going to just cut myself another length of the bling. Okay. So like that. Okay. Oh, we're going to the cinema tonight, hopefully, to watch that film Creed. Creed 3. Now, I might have talked about these before. In our household, we love the Rocky films. Yeah, I know they're like really kind of old-fashioned now and things, but you know, I think they have a bit of a following, don't they? And you know, people tend to either really like them or really not like them. We absolutely love them. And Creed is the like follow-on continuum of the Rocky films, and we're up to Creed 3 now, so they're kind of going all out Rocky style, making like hundreds of them. And yeah, Creed 3. So we've watched the trailer. The trailer looks really good. And Creed 1 and 2, they were really good films. They followed on from the Rocky films really, really, really well. And yeah, very kind of credible storylines and things. So yeah, they're really, really good films. Now, I'm not expecting this to go, obviously, but just to kind of give you a bit of a sort of demonstration of it, you know, I mean, it's completely not what I would put with this pocket at all. But it still looks good, doesn't it? I mean, it would still, you know, you could still pull that off and kind of use that. So, yeah, just to kind of demonstrate, really, that, you know, you could kind of get away with anything. But I've got this pocket, which I've just spotted in the browns. How gorgeous does that look on there? I mean, just lovely, doesn't it? Absolutely lovely. And then, you know, you could just kind of finish that off with maybe like, see if I've got any numbers or anything in, you know, shades of blue or anything that would go. I mean, that's not too bad. I'm not saying it's quite right, but yeah, got a few different ones. I'm not going to have one quite the right colour, am I? Obviously, but yeah, that would be far too easy. Well, let's just ink this a little bit. Okay. You know, so I mean, just really simply, so that's just one of my little number tabs, and obviously that fabric ruffle, and you know, you wouldn't even really need to put anything else on there. That just looks gorgeous, doesn't it? I mean, obviously you could put other things on, but if you didn't, that would look absolutely fine, just, you know, just finished like that. But isn't that lovely on there? And I'll just kind of, yeah, just switch it out. Oh my goodness, how lovely is that with the pink? And then this one, which obviously now I feel needs to go down that way because of the bow. Or you could, I suppose, have it like that. But yeah, they're really super nice, aren't they? So I'll just put that away. Right, let's take one more. So let's take the, let's take this. So this is the bird chase papers, oops, which are in my shop. And yeah, let's just do one with this now as well. Just, you know, so that we're playing around with different looks, like we say. And, you know, the whole reason of the, you know, making them like this with the kind of, you know, bulk make method, really, is only really because, you know, we're doing mass making here. So it's trying to do things in the most efficient way. So you can, you know, exactly as we've just said, is bulk make things, you know, so that your things come together very, very quickly. You know, so that's why I kind of wanted to obviously you know, show you a sort of fast method of making these. And like I said, I mean, I did make them like that in the last one. And yeah, I just think actually it is a quick way to make them. So if you're trying to make them quickly, then that's quite a good way. Obviously, that's not perhaps using the most of or the best of your scraps. You know, to use your scraps, you may prefer, you know, an alternative method, because that's not necessarily going to be using your scraps to its best. But if you're wanting to just make them fast, then I think that's a pretty good way of making them fast. So I'm just having a look through. I thought I had some other book page here, because I thought let's do one with some book page, which now I can't find any book page, but I have got some left over of the sheet music. So should we just see if we could have a little line of sheet music maybe down the centre here. So, you know, like the ones with the little central strip of paper, I'm thinking I could have like a little central strip of sheet music here. I mean, to be honest, it's kind of probably lost its identity a bit and no longer really resembles sheet music, but you know, it looks okay, doesn't it? I'm not necessarily saying that that's quite right. Maybe it would be better on a different piece. Let's just see. I mean, it looks quite nice on there. Maybe on the pink. That's quite nice. And what about on the plain pink? Oh, that's quite pretty. I quite like it on the plain pink. So just move those to one side. Again, just tear this down. Oh, and I have finally been making a bit of progress with my emails. So I can't apologise enough to everybody who has emailed, and oh my goodness, I've been so rubbish. I just, yeah, literally had a ton of emails, and unfortunately a lot of them have, you know, had got lost, which I was unaware of. So I then stumbled across a whole bunch of emails, you know, from yonks ago. So I really apologise if your email was in one of those. But yeah, I have kind of finally made a bit of progress, so I'm feeling a little bit lighter now, because that was kind of bogging me down a little bit, you know, knowing that I had to do those and keep not getting time to do them or getting around to doing them. So I'm feeling a little bit kind of more sort of, yeah, lighter, I suppose, from having tackled a few emails. So yeah, I do apologise for anyone who was kind of, you know, feeling really irritated, you know, by the fact that I hadn't got back to you. And, you know, I just want to say it so was not intentional. It just, they'd kind of like, you know, backed up, and then it was very hard to obviously get back on top of them. And like I said before, you know, I'd been struggling a bit with anxiety and kind of just like avoiding all contact really with people. So yeah, I do apologise anyway. So I have finally made a bit of progress. So I'm feeling a lot more positive about that. So that's that gorgeous pink one. Isn't that just so pretty with the sheet music? Love how that looks. And the only other thing obviously that you could do is you could add some die cuts and things like that to your ruffles as well. So for instance, here I've just got these like little bits here. These are just some, you know, some random pieces from my Perfect Pocket packs. But I mean, I love that Eiffel Tower on there actually. And it's kind of weird because, or not weird, but kind of good, because it's the right shape for this, isn't it? You know, it's the Eiffel Tower, which is long and tall, and the ruffle, of course, is tall as well. So it kind of just lends itself to going on there, doesn't it? It looks really, really pretty on there. So I might just put that on, just use a bit of hot glue. Okay, oops. Like that. Oh my goodness. I mean, how lovely does that look? I love how that looks. That's so gorgeous. And I'm just wondering whether you could, now this might look rubbish because like that paper looked rubbish just now, but yeah, you could put that onto like a little piece of lace, just like that. And that would be almost a bit like a sort of clustery type piece, just to pop onto a page somewhere, you know, maybe even just cut it in half. So if I just take that lace down like that, I mean, maybe you wouldn't want it, you know, coming out both sides, but here, for example, maybe just coming out one side like that. How gorgeous is that? I love how that looks. So just going to literally stick this down onto the lace. So just using a bit of hot glue here. Again, just, you know, for speed. There we go. How gorgeous does that look? You know, and you've just kind of then made that a bit more, you know, a bit more of that. So it's not just, you know, a boring old paper ruffle, but it looks really so pretty, doesn't it? I just absolutely love it. And the only other thing, and I keep saying, oh, the only other thing, but it's just things keep on occurring to me that you could do with these, is you could add a tab onto the side. So I've just got my ready-made tabs, which again, we've made the ready-made tabs in the mass making. So these are all, you know, made ahead items. So I've just got this little tab here. So we just ink that up. Let's just see which. Not sure which one. Oh, maybe on the brown actually. That brown is really nice, isn't it? So let's just take that down there. Okay. Get rid of those threads which are dragging everything else with them. Every time I touch things, they're being like caught and dragged in with other threads. So let's get rid of those. Right, okay. And again, just ink this one up. Okay. Like that. So your tab, you could either put clamped round like that, or you could just have it poking out underneath. So, you know, I'm kind of thinking you could have this then, you know, on the edge of a page, and then you could just have that just coming out underneath. So like that. So which side do we want it? Do we want it down there? No, I think I quite liked it this side. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to glue it down here. Oops. Like that. Like that. Now you could even leave that open until you actually came to use this, and then, you know, who knows, you may actually want to have this on a page. So I haven't got a journal here to show you, but let's just pretend this was a journal page. You'd put that on the edge of the page with the tab over the page, if you see what I mean. So the page would actually have the tab hanging off like that, and then your page ruffle is sat onto that page. How gorgeous does that look? And you could always decorate that up with, you know, again, maybe some bling or something through the middle, maybe that, you know, cute lace trim. Oops. Like that. I mean, how gorgeous does that all look? Really pretty, doesn't it? You could, you know, I don't know, put a butterfly on there. I mean, I'm not saying that's the right, you know, the right piece for that, but just, you know, different options there. So, you know, that's really nice. So I'm just going to take this one quickly, just before we finish, and use this, you know, with the piece of paper over the front, like that. So I'm going to leave a bit of threads hanging, and we can just then ink around here, like that. Okay, and then, yeah, pop that lace on. Isn't that just so scrummy? You know, I mean, it really doesn't kind of need it. You know, it looks absolutely gorgeous on its own. But to put the lace on as well, that is just yummy, isn't it? It kind of just takes it to another level. You know, not an essential, obviously. But, you know, if you wanted to kind of make a bit more of your ruffles, then that just absolutely looks lovely, doesn't it? Now, just going to again pull in a bow from last week's mass make. Oh my goodness, how yummy does it look with the bow? So let's just put that on there like that. And that again, you know, if you had a journal, that could just go exactly, you know, on the side or the edge of a page, just like that. Or obviously you could use it on, you know, a pocket or, you know, ready-made embellishment. You could use it on a tag. How gorgeous does that look? I absolutely love it. Love it, love it, love it. So loads of different things that you can do with these. They just are going to look really super pretty in tons of different places, and they are quite addictive to make, I have to say. The other thing that I would mention, I have seen them made a lot of times in, you know, the ruffle rolls. Personally for me, you know, and I'm not saying that this is right or wrong, saying personally for me, I prefer the ruffles, you know, cut smaller and, you know, stored in. Let me just see if I can find one behind my desk. Right, you'll have to excuse this because oops, it's got other things in it. Let's take those things out. So this is just those little IKEA drawer things. And once these are cut down small, you can just keep them in there. And to be honest, if you then, you know, bulk stitched a bunch, even they fit in there. Not obviously that piece because it's quite big, but once I've cut that down, you know, just one length off there, it would fit in there as well. So that's how I prefer to store mine, you know, but no rights or wrongs. I'm just kind of saying, actually, for me, I think they're quite fun. And actually, to be honest, I mean, I've said that this is how I prefer to store them. Actually, to be honest, maybe they're kind of two, you know, two separate things. And so maybe you would like to have some done as a paper ruffle, roll, and roll them up, and maybe a few like this. I don't know. I'm just kind of putting ideas out there, really, and you know, you might find one just resonates with you and you think, oh, that's how I would like to store mine. But yeah, I really hope that you like them. I absolutely love them, and to be honest, I haven't made any for ages, so I've forgotten actually how much I do love them. So yeah, I might have to you know, do some more and have a bit more of a play with these. But I really hope that you've got some ideas. I hope that you have fun if you decide to make some, and yeah, thank you so much for watching. I hope you all have a fantastic week, and I will see you guys tomorrow. Thanks then. Bye.